things are really not going well in the Tory party, and especially as we can see, poll after poll after poll, Labour's on course to win the next general election. Now, as we've said before, if you're a Conservative MP, the last thing you actually want to do is go for a general election. And that's why I've said I've recalculated my political calculus on the potential of being a general election this year. I still think it might be quite likely, but I think the chances get even lower depending, of course, on the results and probably the political fallout in the party of how those local elections go. But even now, Tory MPs are withdrawing. They're saying, well, actually, at the next election, I'm not going to stand, because a lot of them have seen the polls themselves. A lot of them are looking at going, I'm not going to do that. And indeed, just in the constituency next door, our local Conservative MP, Miriam Cates of Penistone Stocksbridge, her polling, according at the moment, last time she won at 47%. There is now a drop. According to the recent polls, she goes from 47 to 31%. That is a 16% change in her polling. That is a significant drop. And it molds into line with what we said about the Conservatives. When you look at a lot of the polls and the by-election results as well, there's this missing 10%. Where is this missing 10% gone? Is this people who never voted before because they wanted Brexit? Is it something else? Was it Labour? It doesn't certainly look like that way. But there's a ton of stuff going on in polling, and still there is, as we've said before, this missing 10%. Where is it going? What's happened to it? It gets very, very interesting for numerous reasons. But more interestingly, is you are now getting MPs or Tory MPs desperately trying to run to safer seats. And it raises a question of what starts to happen in the Tory party. Like, what starts to happen where you get Tories who are in a marginal seat, who then run to a safer seat and then supplant the Tory that was already there. Because they're not going to be happy if all of a sudden they get turfed out of their very safe seat. You can already see the implications probably already on that. So, yeah, this could get very, very spicy very, very quickly, I think, as we said before. So, before we do jump onto this, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a notification link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And of course, as always, there are links to my Patreon page and a notification link called Buy Me Coffee. There's the YouTube thank you button, and of course, the Pony Club down below as well. So, as always, thank you very much for your watching and all the support you give. Now, let's rock on into this article, because I think this is quite interesting. I was going to cover the Conservative home, but the Politico one goes deeper into what's happening in a lot of these constituencies. And I think that's also important to cover as well. So that's why we're going to go over and cover the one from Politico, not the one from Conservative home. Here we are. So, in 2019, his 2019 election victory speech, Boris Johnson thanked first-time Tory voters for putting their sacred trust in the Conservative Party. Yeah, a lot of people regret doing that now. He said, "Your hand may have wavered over the ballot paper before you put your cross in the Conservatives' box," Johnson told voters in former Labour strongholds. "And I am humbled that you have put your trust in me and you have put your trust in us. I and we will never take your support for granted." Yeah. No, you sure have, given all the leveling up promises. Um, Certainly how well a lot of these Brexit deals have gone. The uh, the Pacific Partnership deal doesn't necessarily bode well for future. We'll get into that in the next video for certain, because that has some very interesting implications in around what the Pacific Partnership actually means and all that type of stuff. It's very interesting, but like I say, that's another video. um, so it continues. So 3 years later, senior Tories are concerned that with the polling now showing the opposition Labour Party is on course for a landslide victory, MPs in those landmarks are now very vulnerable. Red wall seats are considering fleeing to safer ground. Changes to the UK constituency map mean that politicians of all stripes are scrambling to claim and reclaim territories ahead of the election due by the end of 2024. A few MPs are forced to hunt for new seats because the boundaries of their constituencies are being substantially redrawn. And around half a dozen or more are using these major changes as an excuse to attempt so called chicken runs to more heavily Tory voting areas, insiders believe. So if their seats are challenged at all, even fractionally, they're trying to use it as an excuse to say they should get a safer seat. One senior Tory has said, it's very disloyal to the place you're representing, and it's bad for the party. So already, this is going on in the Tory party. This is not good for them, because you're going to have all these guys being very disloyal, running around saying, well, actually, I deserve a better seat. This is going to cause some massive friction in the party. Massive friction. I think this could be the start to something much bigger, because we've talked before about the differences in the Tory ideological civil war. Because now, what if you're one of those who wants a more safer seat, and you go to Rishi Sunak and you go, "Oh, hey, look, so and so isn't your ideological partner compared to me. I'm more your safer bet. I'm more your safer ally. Don't you want me with you when you're in opposition?" There's all kinds of tricks and things that they can do in this that's going to make this really, really messy, really messy if they are seriously start switching around and doing this, which does appear they are at the moment. So some MPs are citing personal reasons for moving on. One, Tory Nicole Richards, had said this week that she was vacating her West Bromwich East seat, which she narrowly won in 2019, because of the change in her, quote, domestic circumstances, but added, I am fortunate enough for this not to be the end of my time. I hope I am fortunate enough for this not to be the end of my time in Parliament. Another 2019 Conservative MP, and by the way, I want to point out, when we look through this, it is mostly the 2019 intake, these red wall Tories that are now desperately trying to scramble to some safer ground. That seems to be the case. I want to point out how this is. It's very strange that they are doing this, and especially to say, oh well, I hope it's not the end of my time in Parliament. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Give me a safer seat. So another 2019 Conservative MP, Stuart Anderson, announced earlier this week that he was standing down in Wolverhampton Southwest for personal reasons. Again, it's not political reasons, it's just personal reasons. On Wednesday, he told his local Express and Star newspaper that the, quote, toxic political environment in the city had taken its toll. And during his time in Parliament, he had received physical threats, including 19 which have gone to police. Okay, fair enough. Like I say, that's where they should go. If he feels that's the case, that's fine. But I think politicians have to deal with those types of threats all the time. But the Express and Star have reported that Anderson said he hoped his political journey would not end there. Gee, It's strange this, how they're all leaving for personal reasons, but I hope this isn't the end of my political journey. All looking at very greedily now at other Tory MP seats. And bear in mind, all those Tory MPs who are in now safe seats are going to have to be, I think, on defensive and watching that someone doesn't come in and try and supplant them. Because, oh boy, are they going to try and do that. So, and he plans to apply to stand as an MP elsewhere. Two Tories have also told Politico that he has expressed interest in other seats. When he was contacted by Politico, Anderson denied holding talks with other Tory associations and said that he had not yet decided what to do. And of course, he did not deny considering to stand elsewhere. A third Tory MP, Kieran Mullen, who won the Crewe and Natwich in 2019, again, all 2019 seats. I want to make that very clear. It's all these new ones who are desperately trying to, run to higher ground as the red wave is coming crashing into them. They're desperately hunting for safer, higher ground. So they face criticism after being linked to the new Cheshire South and Edsbury Street. Only one of his current wards falls within its boundaries. And a senior Tory told the Northwich and Wishford Guardian that Mullen had betrayed his voters, and an MP's relationship with its constituencies is not something that can be callously tossed aside into the gutter when a plumber opportunity comes along next door. Richards and Mullins did not respond to requests for comments. So, I wonder how much they're going to be at each other's throats. So, to switch constituencies, though, sitting Tory MPs need to obtain the dispensation from Conservative campaign headquarters. If they get approval, they may automatically make the shortlist of 3 candidates for the seats in their region. But to contest a seat in a different region, they have to be interviewed by the local party there. A CCHQ official said that displacement rights are given to MPs whose constituencies are materially and adversely changed by the boundary review. It is not a guarantee of getting a seat. So the suspicion that colleagues may be embarking on chicken runs has incensed MPs who plan to contest their marginal constituencies despite the likelihood they will lose them. One Tory MP, in a very tight seat, said it was creating a huge anger in the parliamentary party. As I said at the beginning, what do you think this whole situation is going to cause in the party? And what happens if some of these 2019 chickens start to supplant the other more firmly entrenched ones who thought, oh yeah, I'll be in this seat, it'll be fine. Out they go for the new younger chicken that is maybe a bit more ideological, in line with so say their current leader, or maybe has done their leader a favor, or there's all kind of stuff and questions this could start to raise. This is going to get really ugly. And it's just fantastic to watch. I'm not gonna lie. Another MP had said it harms the party overall, as incumbency counts at the polls. A third also added, associations aren't silly. If they see a chicken run, they'll tell them to just piss off from the selection council. Insiders also fear chicken runs hand Labour an easy attack line. One Tory said it amounted to telling the public our MPs will dump you if they don't think they can get a massive majority, but please do vote Tory. Another Conservative added, local associations are screaming blue murder over the CHQ chicken runs. The membership already feels irrelevant because it wasn't given the chance to choose the party leader. So it is certainly going to flex its muscles over selections. And of course, this is the big thing. Selections are now taking place. So Greg Hands, the party chair, has emailed MPs this week to say he aimed to install at least 100 Tory candidates in time for the party's conference in October. The first tranche of these constituencies will be advertised to approved Conservative candidates on the 17th of April and will mainly cover the seats where Tories are retiring and key opposition held marginals. This will pit those serving MPs who are currently looking to move against people on the approved Tory candidates list, which runs around over 1,000 names. The most highly prized seats will be the safe ones, falling vacant at the next election. Luke Hall, the deputy Tory chair, wrote to prospective candidates earlier in March with instructions on how to get stuck into the forthcoming local election campaign. Those who don't put the hard yards in are at risk in being taken off the approved list. So that's also very interesting. That's an interesting threat. If you don't get out and campaign at the local elections, or which bear in mind, last local election, we didn't see many local Tories get out and involved in their in those campaigns. So I can see why they are using that as a threat to try and motivate them to get out. Although we'll see. A Tory MP said that there is a big contingent of people on the main approved candidates list who are on there for the status. So it's a good thing that the system will be changed to make sure that candidates are campaigning rather than socializing. So the process of getting selected as a parliamentary candidate, whether for the Conservatives or the Labour Party, is very secretive and insular. Who some hopefuls do pay professionals to actually coach them through the process. Politico's Westminster Insider podcast reported that one coach, Graham Davis, has helped between 60 to 70 Tory MPs, and more than 20 cabinet ministers get selected, including Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. He charges about £3,500 for a 2-hour coaching session. We did get it right from the word go at the start of his political career, even before he got into the candidate list, David said. I've coached him throughout his career, including his maiden speech and speeches as minister and appearances in television debates. And of course, he's time and again on the far end of the spectrum in terms of budget availability. And of course, there are groups trying to open up this process. Campaign organisers of the 50-50 parliamentary holds weekly party-specific meetings to try and demystify the process for women who want to stand. Francis Scott said, its founder said, that sadly, this very secretive nature of the selections still perpetuates that some candidates seem to have a special favoured status. And very true. I'd like to see this candidate selection be a lot more open rather than very hidden. And I think that goes for all parties, not just the Conservative. So prospective candidates do face getting rejected again and again. Home Secretary Suella Braverman has told meetings that she tried around 40 times to get selected before she became an MP. This weekend, Braverman faces yet another selection battle, this time for her redrawn constituency of Farman and Waterville, against her Tory colleague, Flick Drummond. The Battle of Waterlooville, and this will be referred into Westminster. It will be closely watched by other MPs trying to face their own constituents this spring and summer as the Tory political map gets redrawn. And that's very interesting, as the more this happens, the more internal fights there are going to be in the Tory party. And you've already seen it. Most of it's the 2019 intake. They're out and after this. So the more this happens, it's going to cause a lot of chaos. It's going to cause a lot of very upset people. A lot of upset people. That's for certain. That is absolutely for certain in the party. And like I say, bear in mind, if you look at your polls, take a look, Penston and Stocksbridge. Like I say, that's the closest sort of Conservative MP for me. She's in the polls losing by over 16% at the moment. 17, I suppose, if you add in the extra decimal points. That's not good. That is certainly not good. And as far as we are aware, I think she's still intending to stand. But when you're losing by 17 points, that's not a good position to be in. And that, bear in mind, is pretty much seems to be the vast polling opinion across the country. that the Tories are potentially about to really receive a complete and utter electoral drubbing. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and of course, we'll see you all next time. Before you leave, please do remember to click that like, share, and subscribe button, and of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.